Amicus analysis. Amicus analysis. Amicus analysis. Amicus analysis.
Hello and welcome to Hammerheads, season the second, the Amicus analysis, and we're on episode 9, I Monster, the Scottish Amicus film.
Yes, or as we've been joking for the last 3 weeks talking about it, lowercase I Monster, the Steve Jobs story. Rest in peace, Steve. Or what was the other one? Oh, I Monster, which is about an optician gone mad in the city of London. But, you know, yeah, all the stupid jokes.
And I'm Marcus, and that's Miles.
I Miles.
You Miles, me Marcus. And as usual, we have been going through Amicus's output of horror movies in the 60s and 70s. And yeah, we're getting through them. We're past halfway, and the productions sort of start to speed up at this point. So lots in 71, lots in 72, 73, 74. Lots to talk about over the next few episodes. But this particular film reunites Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee.
Yay!
A take on the Victorian Jekyll and Hyde story.
Yeah. It was a very nice version of Stevenson's tale, actually, because I think it's something that everyone's familiar with, and I think it was quite faithful to the book, despite the fact they changed a lot of the characters. But I think the story pretty much follows the same beats as the book.
It's a little bit, it's a little bit Jekyll and Hyde. It's a little bit picture of Dorian Gray. It's because like his face does. It's not a portrait in the loft that's getting more ugly. It's actually Christopher Lee that's getting more ugly as he does bad things in the film. And it's very Freudian. There was a lot of films based around Freud and what Freud talked about just around this time. I think that Hands of the Ripper was made in the same year by Hammer. And that was a very sort of psychological Freudian kind of film.
And, I like Hands of the Ripper. Yes, I remember that one.
And Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, I think, was released by Hammer in the same year with Ralph Bates.
Yes.
So lots of Freud, lots of Jekyll and Hyde just around this particular time. And this feels,
they changed the character Christopher Lee plays from the book. So he's not a doctor, he's a Freudian psychotherapist.
Yes.
So, yeah, in Victorian London.
And he's, it's good to see him back with Peter Cushing, although Peter Cushing doesn't do a great deal in this film.
I think he's underused in this film, yeah.
I think he did think it wasn't a great experience for him being in this film, particularly.
Oh, really? That's a shame. Because the last film we did, which was the last film we did...
The House That Dripped Blood.
That's it. The House That Dripped Blood. How could I forget that one? It's the Amicus movie. Peter Cushing was wonderful in it, and he had a central role, and he was fantastic, even though he was only in one chapter. But yeah, it's sort of a bit Dracula, this, in that Lee is the monster and Cushing has to hunt him down and fight him at the end. So
yes, there's this transformation where Christopher Lee turns into the monster, and there's this whole thing about saying, well, this serum will affect either the id or the ego or the superego, but we're not sure which one it'll affect each time I inject myself, and I might turn into a monster, I might turn into a drooling imbecile, I might, So it's actually really fun to watch Christopher Lee play this particular role, because I've never seen him sort of so goofy. He kind of injects himself for the first time, and he sort of turns into kind of a drooling Dr. Doolittle.
Simian. Yeah, he reminded me of in House of Drip Blood. Is it Carl, the strangler guy, where he's got this sort of goonish grin on his face, like evil, lascivious grin and you sort of wonder what he's going to do. And I think that right from the start, this is not a film to watch if you're squeamish, as we all are, and I'm particularly squeamish about animal cruelty, because thankfully it's all off camera and it's all implied. But the first thing he does is when he's gonna inject himself with a serum, and the cat meows, and that's the last thing it ever does, because he goes, I'll inject the cat instead, and then the cat does what every cat does and starts going mad and knocking things off shelves, which I wanted to point out to Christopher Lee, that's normal behaviour for a cat, and but he injects it and then he has to bash it to death, which is
it to death.
horrendous.
Noah paraphrasing. And then looks really guilty.
Yeah, no, I actually really felt his pain there. It's sort of, I think The Fly, the 1987 one, the 86 one, reminded me of this because he does there's actually a deleted scene in The Fly where he tries to teleport a cat and a baboon together and they get stuck together and he has to beat them both to death with a tire iron, and you end up going, bad choice. So he seems genuinely, and so then he has to go and see that, his female caller in the study, and he's really like depressed because he's just had to beat his cat to death. So that was the start of the movie.
Yeah. So then he thinks, well, what can I do next? Oh, I'll inject her as well.
I know. And then, of course, the first thing she's going to do, being a woman, is get a bit sexy. So he comes back in and she immediately takes her clothes off and goes, hey, look at me. And that's what's going to happen. Whereas every time in the movie Christopher Lee is presented with a sexual opportunity, he just beats someone to death. It's like, dude, I thought, maybe everyone's different, but he could have got something in the movie.
It'd be a bit of funnier if he'd injected the male patient and he'd become a bit frisky. That would have been.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's always the woman and I guess it does time with this sort of Jack the Ripper legend where, there's lots of vulnerable women around, because he immediately goes out and starts causing fights with people and going to pubs and trying to pick up sleazy women and stuff. But instead of being lascivious or rapey with them, he just gets violent and just wants to kill everybody. I guess that was his id.
It's funny. I mean, I think Christopher Lee is really good. I've never seen him quite like this, and he is completely unpredictable in those early scenes when he's injected the serum. You're not quite sure what he's going to do next, which is quite terrifying.
Yeah.
Although it's not a particular, I think it's a PG or something. I don't think it's particularly gory. It's not particularly threat of violence. There's not a lot of violence.
Yeah, it's not like a slasher movie. You don't see, like, even the scene, he holds up and thankfully doesn't kill a little white mouse in his lab. I felt so sorry for all the animals in his lab. And he just gets this scalpel and holds it up to it like, ugh, and then he gets distracted and decides not to do it. But there's always this sort of hint that he's so I've always been fascinated by the mad scientist in his lab, just losing his humanity. And you feel like saying, just go outside. Just leave your laboratory. You've gone insane. And, unfortunately, there's some good scenes right at the beginning as well in the Gentleman's Club with Peter Cushing, and also the lad who plays it, Robert something. He also played the first Doctor when William Hartnell had died.
All right.
They used to is it Robert Hurnell, and they used to get him in to play, like in the 5 Doctors and the 3 Doctors. They used to get him to play William Hartnell's Doctor when William Hartnell had died, before your man David Bradley took over in the noughties. But so I thought, I know that guy in the Gentleman's Club. So they had these conversations among themselves about sort of, between themselves, but also led by Christopher Lee, and he's sort of saying, wouldn't it be interesting if we didn't have this restraint on us, this sort of, the superego, the guilt and everything. And they're like, well, if we didn't have guilt, we'd just go out and be monstrous. And he's like, yes, I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's almost kind of overcast because there's Cushing, I think, who plays Utterson, and then this guy called Mike Raven, who is fascinating. If you ever want to read his
Enfield.
Wikipedia, he's only been in about 4 films in the early 70s, but he's been a disc jockey, an actor, a sculptor, a sheep farmer. He's like a ballet dancer, flamenco guitar. He's just had such an interesting life. And it's not his real name either. It's like Mike Raven. I think he was kind of using it for like the horror values, but it's Austin Fairman is his name. But anyway, so there's a cool name. There's him and Cushing, and I think there's this other guy called Lanyon, and there's sort of almost 3 of them that share that role of Marlowe's compatriots, and it sort of means that Cushing doesn't end up doing much because it's split between 3 of them.
Yeah, I guess they sort of build up Cushing being the hero at the end.
Yeah.
Really just so he can fight Christopher Lee, which is, and yeah, you're right, if they'd had one less character, sure, have 3 or 4 in the Gentleman's Club, because then they can have a discourse, and they can talk about, oh, I'd never do it. Oh, I'd never do anything like that. But Cushing should have joined in and said, whereas actually he's just, they use him as the kind of silent observer, the sort of moral silent observer, and then gradually figures it out, as the others are all a bit obnoxious about it,
Yeah.
they're supposed to be Christopher Lee's friends, but there's always this sense of they don't really know him.
Well, they don't, because like physically he doesn't change much, but they don't seem to recognize him when he becomes Blake. It's like, but it's obviously the same guy. What? Like,
Well,
who are
that's
you?
But I did like.
Where's Marlowe?
Yes, it's me. Yeah, I mean, to us it was obvious and everything, but I did like the sort of the Jekyll and Hyde thing. It was done in. I love they called him Blake as well, because William Blake. There's a guy who knows a lot about the darkness of the human soul. But yeah, so when he's Blake, he goes out, on the kill, and then comes back in. And he has a key to Marlowe's house and everything. And it was the sneaking around being these two different characters, I thought was very well done. And it actually sort of reminded me a bit of Frankenstein, in that he turned himself. I mean, obviously in this case, he turned himself into a monster because he was sort of interested to see what the results were. But then he gets a glimpse of himself, and he's horrified of what he looks like, because he doesn't look like this great virile monster he expected to look like. He just looks like an absolute goon with goofy teeth. And I mean, he's meant to be ugly, isn't he? He's meant to be the ugly appetite of humans, particularly of men.
That's why it kind of gave me the whole Dorian Gray kind of vibes.
Yeah, again, that's because obviously that's a sort of. I mean, both Jekyll and Hyde and Dorian Gray have a sort of psychosexual undertone as well, because obviously Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde, and the whole thing is, imagine if we could be our true selves in public. Oh no, I can't. I have to hide myself. And I think that goes one way. Obviously, Dorian Gray is just horrendously awful to people while appearing beautiful, apart from his painting. Whereas this guy, he is hideous to everyone he meets, but no one twigs that it's the same guy, I guess, because
he's handsome Marlowe during the day, and then
and then when he ugly bloke, he's an ugly bloke at no, and they sort of gets a look at himself, and he's horrified by what he looks like, because he realizes he is actually monstrous. And at one point when he goes into the bar and he tries to solicit that prostitute, and she says, "Why would I go with an ugly bloke like you?" And he's like actually quite offended that he looks like that. I thought one of the great bits was when he sees the little girl in the park, and she just goes, "Ugh," and runs away. It's like, what a critique! Can't argue.
And then he looks very sad, and you suddenly feel a bit, poor Chris.
Well, that's the thing. I think. Yeah, he's trying to get a handle on his humanity, isn't he? He's trying to, but unfortunately, he's lost to it by then. Again, eventually, he starts turning without using the serum. But I love that scene where he's in the park in the woodland, and he starts to change without wanting to, and then he runs off through the wood, and there's a convenient Salvation Army band that he has to burst through, and just loads of people out on walks and stuff, and they're all sort of pointing at him, and you do start feeling a little bit sorry for him. But then, if you will start drinking serum that makes you into a monster, this is what's going to happen, Christopher Lee. But I thought it was a good, fun movie, wasn't it? And it was 76 minutes long, which I sometimes like in my horror movies.
Yeah, and it's first time for director Stephen Weeks, who was only 22 when he made this film.
Wow.
And he only made, I think, a kind of handful of films in his career. But to start with Cushing and Lee, I think is pretty impressive at the age of 22.
Definitely. Wow. Yeah.
And I think you can just imagine, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee having, done so many movies by this point, almost kind of giving him hints on how to direct it. But maybe this is why Peter Cushing wasn't so enamored with the film as well. It was
maybe it was like the Spielberg syndrome, was when Spielberg first started out, they were like, "Who the hell is this kid?" And a few of them were fine with it, and a few of them were like, "Oh, is this what Hollywood's going to be run by kids now?" I wonder if they wanted to be in the hands of a sort of old master, and at this point they were bringing this. God, imagine being. I mean, 22 in those days was a bit older than it is now, I guess. 22 now feels like a baby.
Yeah. And then we've got it's kind of more reminiscent, I think, of Hammer films around the time, because Hammer were doing more of this Victorian fare as well. They were doing Jekyll and Hyde's. They were doing Frankenstein and Dracula, and I think that, again, it's not Amicus's strong suit. The anthologies are their strong suit, but also the kind of weirder movies set in modern day that are quite disquieting as well. That's what Amicus seem to be, just some of their best movies that we've watched, certainly, are more that kind of thing, rather than trying to kind of ape the Hammer thing.
And it's funny because you'd almost take this and put this in the Hammer pantheon and you wouldn't know any the wiser. Whereas interestingly, Hammer were moving away from this kind of film in the 70s because they felt threatened by companies like Amicus who were making modern films. Yeah. They were sort of trying to, and if you haven't listened to Hammerhead season 1, by the way, we cover about 18 Hammer movies. So, there's quite a lot of good examples in there, but in the 70s, they started to be a bit more experimental and go, well, we're not going to do the Draculas and we're not going to do the Frankenstein. But then Amicus goes ahead and does this, and it does feel like at least on a par with some of the middling sort of, I like this because Leslie Halliwell, who was a great grumpy critic in the sort of 70s and 80s. I don't think many people will know who he is now because they're sort of used to online criticism. But Leslie Halliwell, we also had Halliwell's Film Guide, and it was funny because he loves the classics, but he hates anything past about 1969. But in this one, he said an entertaining minor Amicus film.
Yeah,
which I was like, yeah, that's pretty true.
I mean, it's better than The Bees.
Yes, it is
the
better.
Deadly Bees.
The Deadly Bees, it's a shame because very rarely actually do I watch a film, even when it's supposed to be cheesy or low quality, where I think, oh my God, this is shit and I want to turn it off. Only recently have I watched 2 films where I did turn them off nearly. The Deadly Bees was one of them, but I thought, no, I have to watch the whole thing because we're covering it. And the other one was Crime Wave, which is a film that Sam Raimi's second movie that he did with Bruce Campbell after Evil Dead. And it's so bad. It's so bad. I mean, they admit it's bad. They said everything just went wrong. The casting went wrong. The production went wrong, and it was taken out of their hands. But it's really hard to watch. After 40 minutes, I was like, I don't think I can watch this all in one sitting. So a film like this that keeps you watching for 70 or 80 minutes, and is really nicely made. Fine, it's cheesy.
Yeah,
but it's a good example of Amicus. Like I would show this to film students who were sort of interested on doing a version of Jekyll and Hyde. It's a valid version, I think.
Oh, definitely. And I think that maybe the ending is a bit lackluster. And I mean, we've seen it before. Protagonist gets into a fight with their main adversary, gets set fire to, falls downstairs. It's kind of
single Hammer movie. Yeah,
a lot of times in Hammer.
Yes, it did. I mean, I must admit when the oil lamp fell and then there was that sort of bad cut to it on fire.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I see. Right, we're going that way. But I actually thought when he was killed and he was lying at the bottom of the stairs, Marlowe, there was a great, very smooth transition between various stages of Hyde and into Jekyll. I thought that was very well done. I was like, oh, that was a very smooth mix.
Yeah, it was actually. I mean, the rest of the film, they avoid those special effects and it's all done through, panning to the shadow on the wall, changing shape, and then you're kind of back into the action. But clever kind of ways of, and it didn't detract from the film for me. But yeah, at the end, that was a reasonably impressive last shot.
Yeah. I thought it was better than some of the Dracula where Dracula melts or turns to dust and it's quite obviously 3 different shots. But I thought this is really, lined it up really smoothly considering they have to change the makeup 3 times. But yeah, the shadows on the wall thing, I thought they did the noir stuff quite well, actually. I like the sort of, foggy London vibe. And I like there's a classic shot they use in a lot of films. I don't know what was the first to do it. Probably one of the impressionist filmmakers in the 20s, but is a cobbled street with a long shadow coming towards you from a off-screen light source, and they did that very well. And they also did when he changes back into Marlowe from Blake on the wall and turns around and it's Christopher Lee. I was like, oh my God, and again the guy has a heart attack because he realizes it's the same guy. I thought that was nicely done, and actually,
same guy.
I mean, it is pretty damn obvious, especially because he was banging on in the Gentleman's Club earlier about, I think I might take a potion that turns me into a monster. Okay. It was you, wasn't it, Chris? but I really did enjoy it. I think particularly because when I put it on and it said 76 minutes, I went, oh, this is a snappy one. And it didn't need to be a minute longer than that.
No, definitely.
It told the story, and you could have really overdone it with an extra half hour.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Oh, do you know what sequence I loved is when he was chasing the lady into the Thames water plant.
Oh yeah, I don't know where that waterworks thing was, but that was an incredible set. If it was a set, it might just have been a waterworks.
I think it was a waterworks. It had too many. It had like pistons and tiles on the wall and beautifully shot shadows and stuff. I'm just going to check who the cinematographer was because I thought it was very nice shot. Murray Grant. Okay,
A more Scottish name you couldn't.
Murray Grant. Yeah, Murray Grant. I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, I don't know. This was towards the end of his career, I think. I think this was the last film he made, I think. So.
Okay. Well, Murray, it was beautifully done.
Yeah, that was nice.
Lovely colours, and I love the film stock that Hammer and Amicus had because I think it's if it's not Eastman colour, I think sometimes it was Eastman colour, but it's just this classic era film stock where the colours are so vibrant, and then the lighting was beautiful, and they do a really nice job of composition and the processing and everything.
Did you see it was supposed to be 3D effects that they gave up halfway through? Do you know what the Pulfrich effect is? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's the thing where you think you're seeing something in depth because there's two different colours, so your brain tells you that something's far away when actually it's not. It's just out of focus.
Okay.
So I think it's different to lenticular. It's more like the 3D glasses, where you think, oh, this is 3D because something looks slightly more distant, but it's not. It's just a different color.
Okay.
So I think it's the red-green thing. But yeah, look it up if you don't know. It's an old-fashioned 3D. They've tried to bring 3D back so many times, including in the last 10 years. And obviously, some people still like 3D. I always thought it was a massive gimmick. It's quite fun, but yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people can't watch it because of their eyes don't work when it comes to 3D movies. But yeah, I'm not a big fan. I think the best film I saw in 3D in terms of it looking good was Avatar. But then Avatar's like a big computer game anyway, so it's sort of fit that. But I don't think I've ever wanted to see a film in 3D since then.
Yeah,
I could do without it really. They'll probably try and bring it back again in 10 years. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, next time we are back to anthology films, Tales from the Crypt.
That one is a classic, and I have seen it before. And everyone said, when I was working on my zombie series, everyone said there was the makeup guy wanted to dress me up as Peter Cushing's character in that. Is it Grimdyke? Oh, right. Okay. Because he has this
Joan Collins in that then.
Not no, well, maybe, I don't know, and that's their lookout. But yeah, it's meant to be a real classic, this one. So I will really look forward to it. We won't keep it as long next time. It's been a crazy Christmas and New Year and insane January for everybody due to various things. So we'll try and it has been an insanuary, to be honest. So we'll try and have a sane and speedy February. Or Speduberry. No, forget it. Yeah, hopefully there won't be as much illness and stupid life events. But thanks for listening. And if you haven't listened to Hammerheads and you've just come on board Amicus Analysis, it's the same web series. Just go back and podcast. Just go back and catch up because we've covered some bangers. I think we've got maybe 7 or 8 left, haven't we? So we are more than halfway through. Yeah.
Lots of double figures. Lots of anthologies to come.
And obviously, one day in a few months' time, we'll be covering The Beast Must Die, which we do bang on about every episode. But by the time it comes, we'll be like, no, I don't like it anymore. I've changed my mind. It's really bad. No, it's childhood fave, that one. Excellent.
Thank you for the feedback on the channel. Keep listening, and we will see you soon.